Excited to welcome in to the program a guy who's a many-year veteran on the PGA Tour. He accomplished one of the most amazing feats, I thought. He won at 49 years of age on the PGA Tour and then 50 on the PGA Tour Champions. You know him very well when you watch golf on NBC. Peter Jacobsen, welcome to Mark It Down Live.
Hey, Mark, thanks for having me on. I don't really know. There's really not much going on, so I think we could talk for 5 or 6 hours because I've got nothing on my calendar.
Well, I know you got plenty of stories, but let's talk about right now. I mean, the coronavirus obviously is a pandemic, of course, around the whole world and in the United States. And you relocated to Naples a few years ago, but also have a place in New York because your daughter and son-in-law are living there. You got grandkids. You went from Florida up to New York a couple of weeks ago to get into the hotbed of this thing. What are you thinking?
Well, that's what you do for your kids, as you
Right.
well know. Yeah, my daughter and son-in-law are both doctors up here, and they're still working, obviously trying to battle this. It's crazy right now up in this Westchester area. That's where I am. And their kids are 6-year-old and 4-year-old granddaughter and grandson. Their schools are closed. So we said we're coming up to be daycare workers. So we've got Nana and Papa daycare. And I think our grandkids are so sick and tired of charades and Monopoly Junior that today I taught my granddaughter and grandson how to play poker and how to smoke cigars. So we're making progress.
For sure. Get them ready for real life. I mean, that's real life skills, Jake.
Yeah, this ABC 1, 2, 3 stuff doesn't do you any good. You know, playing Go Fish and Crazy Eights, not gonna happen. We need to learn how to. We need a no holds barred game of poker.
Right, and how to have fun. When I think about fun and guys who had fun on the PGA Tour doing it, I got to put you in the top 5 on my list. You think of guys like Lee Trevino back in the day, but then also this day and age, I think of Kevin Kisner, Chesson Hadley. But you, Jake, you had a lot of fun doing, PGA Tour. Guys today, they get done with their rounds. They go to work out. They go to get stretched, physio. No, you were going to local pubs and trying to find a place where you could play your music.
Well, that's true. Payne Stewart and Mark Eli and I, when we formed Jake Trout and the Flounders, which is, I think, the only true rock and roll band that's ever been created amongst PGA Tour players.
Yeah.
The Golf Boys, is that what it's called? They did sing, but they didn't play.
No, they didn't. No, that was just 2 versions, and that's it. You guys had a couple of albums at least.
Yeah, we did, and they're on iTunes, and the money goes to Payne's Foundation. So if you're interested, check that out. But we really did. When we first got on tour, Mark, my gosh, that was 1977. I came out of the same tour school with Don Pooley, Ron Streck, Mike Sullivan, Jay Haas, Graham Marsh, and there was really nothing but you and your caddy. And you would go out and play and work your tail off. That was back when we paid for our own range balls, and there were no courtesy cars, and we paid for food in the locker room. So it was a chance to do what we loved to do, which was play golf. We chased our dreams. Nowadays, I do worry a little bit about kids turning pro, coming out of college, the most heralded ones, the most popular and famous ones. They've got to sign with an agent. They have to have a club deal. They have to have a car deal. They have to have a hat deal. And I've actually been involved in some of those situations that I pull the player aside and I say, why did you turn pro? And they say, well, because I love golf and I love to win. I said, well, then go do that. Go win. All that other stuff will take care of itself. And the one thing I do worry about, a lot of these young players forget to smell the roses along the way. I know that's a trite phrase, but I learned that early on from guys like Palmer and Trevino and Player and Chi-Chi and Fuzzy. Have some fun because, as you well know, Mark, this thing can go away as quickly as you got there. And you may be making all the 5 and 6 footers and winning tournaments, but then you wake up tomorrow and you can't make it from 2 feet. So enjoy it and appreciate it while you got it.
Yeah, and I think what you said too really well there, the way you started, even you were on the PGA Tour hitting stripers. I mean, I was playing the mini tours and you're hitting striper range balls, you're taking your car around. I had my clothes rack in the back and I paid my dues. And then you get to the PGA Tour where you have every flavor of range ball you'd want on the range, free food, free fantastic food and player dining. You certainly appreciate it more and more. But back to Jake Trout and the Flounders before we go on. I was at the 1989 PGA Championship. My dad in the merchandise tent saw the little cassette, and we bought it. And I had so much fun listening to those tunes, those parodies. And one really stuck out to me because I was a ping player all my life, ever since I was 12 years old. Was that song that parodied to Werewolves of London, and that was "Square Grooves Are Going," and just really clever lyrics in there, and so many songs you come up with. How did you come up with all those lyrics throughout the years? Was that for those long drives between tournaments?
Yeah, well, as you know, we have a chance to play with a lot of celebrities and a lot of singers and actors in these tournaments that we play, the Pro-Ams. And that's how I got to meet guys like Stephen Stills and Huey Lewis and Graham Nash, Glenn Fry, Alice Cooper. And I play guitar. In fact, I turn right around and I've got my guitar sitting right next to me. When we put these two grandkids in to eat something, I pick up my guitar. I just wrote a song about slow play, which I may put that out. But
another one, because you had a slow play song on the first album.
We did. That was a knockoff on.
It was Clapton's song, Cocaine, right?
Cocaine, yeah, Cocaine. But what I did is being the guitar nut that I am and the music nut, I could play their songs on the guitar, and I just decided, along with Mark Lai and Payne Stewart, to rewrite the lyrics. So I painstakingly sat down on those long drives on tour and a few occasional plane rides, and I rewrote the lyrics. For example, Alice Cooper's 18, the teenage lament, that became I'm on 18. So some of them were pretty easy. Yeah. Stephen Stills' Love the One You're With became Love the One You With.
It's hard to do.
So in fact, the one song, Darius Rucker, Let Her Cry, I wrote that song, Let It Fly, I think, I can't remember. Yeah. But I ended every word, every line of the lyric of their song, I end with the same word in Jake Trout and the Flounders song. So that took a little bit more work to do, but we had so much fun recording it. We had so much fun playing with these guys. I just watched a Netflix special on David Crosby. David Crosby was not involved in our records, but Graham Nash, Stephen Stills, and Neil Young were. So to be able to go back and look at a lot of the footage on David Crosby's special, it's called Remember My Name. For me to go back to those times, the 80s and the 90s, when we were recording with those guys, brings back a lot of great fun memories.
Yeah, me too. You bring up a lot of those names. I got a chance to play with Alice Cooper, a golf nut, good player too, and Neil Young one time. I remember right in Vegas, I was walking to the tee. Amy was with me, and on my signboard there, it had my name, and then it had Neil Young. And Amy started thinking, oh, what a poor guy. He had to go around life with this name, and everybody thinking that he should be a good musician. Well, no, we get to the tee, and it's really Neil Young. And I still remember.
Let me tell you,
amazing bunker player. I don't know why, but amazing bunker player, Neil Young.
Well, I'll tell you a quick story about that. I ran into Neil, obviously playing tournament golf, and he asked me, he's a Bay Area guy, and he said, you think I could get in the AT&T sometime? I said, yeah, I think they'd love to have you. So I actually had Clint Eastwood's cell number. I called Clint. This was like a month before the tournament, and you know how hard it is to get anybody into that tournament, period, much less a month before. And I called Clint. I said, Neil Young wants to play. Neil Young, the real Neil Young. And he goes, yep, he's in. All he has to do is play Wednesday night at the volunteer party. And you've played in that tournament enough to know that Wednesday night at the AT&T, where they have 2,000 volunteers come and enjoy dinner and enjoy a concert, and they have all of the actors, the athletes, the comedians, whomever's playing, they just come and play a song or tell a story, but it's a really fun, entertaining night. And Neil said he would go and play Old Man or something, one of his famous hits. Well, I saw him that day, and he goes, "I'm not going to go. I don't feel well. I'm not going to go." And I said, "Dude, you got to go, because this is Clint." He was the mayor of Carmel at the time, Clint Eastwood. And I said, "If you don't go, it's big trouble for me, because I put my name out there for you." Well, he didn't play. He didn't play Wednesday night. Clint was ticked, so mad at me, because I was actually playing with Jack Lemmon and Clint and Greg Norman in the tournament.
Oh, boy.
So Clint was pissed at me. So anyway, Neil gets paired. I think he was paired with Lee Jansen, if I'm correct. Again, I'm 66 now. I don't remember these things. But he played great, and he made the cut. And I saw him Sunday morning on the range, and he said, "Man, this has been the best week of my life. I can't wait to come back next year." And I said, "I got news for you, pal. This is it. Enjoy it."
This is your swan song there. But what a great memory to have Neil Young play there. And you stuck your neck out for him. And
well,
rounds out of it. That's pretty good.
Well, the one thing that is pretty clear is if you and I go to a Neil Young concert or a Huey Lewis concert, that's their deal. And we just kind of have to stay out of the way. And that's the one thing about when you play on the PGA Tour, when you're playing with Rory McIlroy or Greg Norman or Tiger Woods, it doesn't matter if you're a former president of the United States, because we all have that opportunity to do that. You hope that person understands that you're now stepping into Mark Wilson's or Tiger Woods' world, and you have to take a back seat. And a majority of the actors and singers and athletes do a great job of that.
Yeah, they sure do. They totally get it. Most of the time, they're pretty nervous to be in our environment, how they're going to hit their shots. And it's a great segue into an event that you had for so many years and out there in Oregon, your home state. And actually, Amy and I have been doing a little cleaning up around the house, and I got something to show you here that I found. A cassette. This is a VHS tape if you kids are watching, but it says Peter's Party on there. And
yes.
It was a video of you, a compilation, I think, of the event you did out there in Oregon to benefit so many great things. It's just a great example of you using your platform in a great way to help out a community.
Well, what I wanted to do, Mark, as we all do, when you get your tour card, you really want to do something for your community, but there was no room in the schedule to be able to have a tournament come to Portland, Oregon, because back then it wasn't the financial burden that it is today. Sometimes title sponsors pay up to $10 or $12 million. Back then it wasn't that, but there was no room on the schedule. So I kind of plugged in between tournaments on Monday and Tuesday, an event we called the Fred Meyer Challenge. And out of that grew a lot of tournaments. Tom Lehman did a tournament. Faxon and Andre do a tournament, the CBS Charity Classic. Greg Norman's Shark Shootout grew out of it. And what we did is we did it 17 years in Portland. I think we raised about $15 million for children's charities. But that VHS tape is a compilation of the clinic. We always did a clinic before the day started. And we would do a lot of crazy things. In fact, one of my favorite moments, we had Crenshaw and Mickelson playing. And as you know, they both use an 8802 putter, that Arnold Palmer flange putter. And of course, I've got the mic. I'm the guy that with the big mouth, so I got the mic out there, and I get them both up. And we were on the 18th green. To utilize the sky suites around the 18th green, we set up these blocks of sod to hit back down the fairway. So we'd have probably 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people around the green. So I wanted to get Crenshaw and Mickelson to have a putting contest. So they got up, we had a cup cut, we had a hole cut on the 18th green. But right before they putted, I made them switch putters. So I had Phil putt with Crenshaw's right-handed blade, and I had Crenshaw putt with Mickelson's left-handed blade. So, of course, Crenshaw putts first, left-handed. It's about a 35-footer uphill breaking left to right, and guess what? He holds it. And the people go crazy, and Ben goes crazy. Well, Phil gets up with Ben's putter, putting right-handed. Guess what he does? He tops him. He hoops it. And that was one of the greatest moments in my recollection of that event. Just those moments that happen, you can't script it, you can't plan for it. They just happen. And it goes to show you the collaboration and the cooperation that tour players have amongst each other to help somebody out. And I know you do a great job. You and Amy do a great job with your event. And I've been at your event in the past. And it's just fun to see communities rally around you, the host where you do your event, and all the players that do such a great job. It's fun. No, we're not getting paid. We're just doing it to give back to the communities.
Yeah, no, you've been very gracious with your time a couple different times for me to come up and play in mine. And I put you on the spot too. You had to be the host, the MC to kind of talk to me and Jim Furyk. And going back to the Fred Meyer Challenge, I remember one thing that I saw that you did a lot were the imitations. And if my viewers here, if you have not seen Peter Jacobsen's imitations, you got to go to YouTube and Google Jacobsen, Stadler, Jacobsen, Arnold Palmer, Duffner. They are spot on. It made me think you had to put a lot of practice into making those imitations be just right. And I thought, did you practice your own golf swing the same way? Because I'm assuming visual watching, say, Craig Stadler swing or something. Is okay, what am I going to do here? Did you work on your own golf swing the same way?
Well, it's funny you say that because I really didn't work on them per se. I didn't film myself. Because I grew up playing with Kite and Stadler and obviously Arnold and Gary Player and Hubert Green, I just kind of became them. I know it's kind of an odd thing to say, but I just I'd work on their mannerisms a little bit, wearing the hat and flipping the collar and with Stads pour the balls down my shirt to add a little weight. Although I don't need to add much weight anymore these days. But it was always a good way to end a clinic because I'm having more fun than anybody out there on the golf course. And I know we all tend to get pretty serious on the last 3 holes when we have a chance to win. You want to beat me, I want to beat you. But I always wanted people to know how much fun I was having. Even though I'm trying to win a tournament, it gets real serious. It's serious fun. It was serious fun for me.
Yeah, great perspective, Jake. And with that, talking about your golf swing here on Mark It Down Live, I like to give the viewers something to maybe work on because let's face it, I'm even doing it. I open up Golf Digest sometimes, even when I was playing great, wondering what's the tip from Peter Jacobsen, what's the tip from Greg Norman. I might try it. I personally have a swing thought that was like my holy grail. Like I'd fall on that whenever things were south and went south. I thought, okay, maybe it's going to work again. Do you have one swing thought that kind of stands out that you'd go back to in your career?
When I grew up playing golf in Portland, Oregon, my father was my teacher, our whole family. And he wasn't a golf pro, but he was a good player. But he understood the fundamentals. And the one thing that he told me to do, and I still do it today, is whenever there's a sunny day at my home range, I always try to wait for the time of day that the sun is right above my head. So the shadow of my head is down somewhere where I'm making contact with the golf ball. Keeping a steady head is something that my father taught me and I still use to this day. Because if you think about the golf swing, you're basically rotating around a fixed point. Think of a revolving door downtown Chicago in a big office building. You're trying to turn in a circle back and forward. And the only way you can gain speed is to turn in that circle as quickly and as efficiently as you possibly can. Now, turning in that circle means you need to keep a still head. Turning in a circle, where golf gets confusing, Mark, and I don't want to confuse anybody, but when you turn in a circle,
it's confusing.
Sorry. When you turn in a circle, you're still trying to hit a golf ball in a straight line. And that's where some people get confused. They think you need to swing the club back and through on the same plane as how the golf ball is going to fly. But it's totally the opposite. You're turning in a circle as quickly and as efficiently as you possibly can, trying to hit the ball straight. Call it a tangent off a circle for all you geometry fans out there. And if you're watching Mark's show, you got to love geometry. But it's probably the most important thing for me is to keep a steady head, especially all the way through the backswing right down to impact. Now, obviously, your head's going to follow the ball as you turn through, but keeping that, my dad used to grab my hair like that on my backswing, and he made me just hold it still. Nowadays, with my toupee, my hair comes right off, so he can't. Oh, it's staying on pretty good today.
It's like you're really pulling at that, but I can tell you're
Yeah,
not.
I know. No, I tell you what, I've got some weave. I got a weave in there that's just, it's unbelievable. But it's to me, the most important thing is keep your head still, no matter what.
All right, I like that. That's a great fundamental and to go back to, and I'm certainly going to think about that the next time I get out there on a sunny day, if you ever have one in Chicago again. But behind me here is a place that you've won at. This is the 8th hole at Kapalua. You won what was called the Isuzu Championship back then, when it was part of the good old silly season. You got any great memories from your time at Kapalua?
Yeah, that was right before my father's death. My father had come down with cancer, and he'd had so many surgeries. They cut out a good portion of his tongue, so he had a feeding tube in, and he really had a difficult time talking. And Mark Rolfing to this day is still one of my heroes. He's a good friend, but Mark was running that tournament. He created that event, and he knew my dad. He didn't know my dad really well, but when Mark knew of my father's cancer and his surgery, and he knew he loved golf, Mark invited my dad to come over and play, because I didn't know if my dad was going to live very long. I didn't know if he was going to live 6 months, a year. He ended up living 9 years, and with a lot of difficulty, but he loved to play golf. So Mark invited him for 9 straight years. My dad came over, and he hung with Andy Bean and Trevino and Mark O'Meara and all the guys, my era guys, and they treated my dad like he was their father. And so whenever I think of Kapalua and Mark Rolfing, I don't think of the Century Tournament of Champions. I think of Mark Rolfing, how kind he was, and I think of my dad. And I had a chance to win the tournament with my dad walking along with me. So I always think that's a pretty special time.
Oh, that's a really special time. Yeah, Mark Rolfing, tremendous guy. Amazing what he's done for the game of golf. And he came back from cancer, and then to have that memory with your dad there at Kapalua, that's truly memorable. I never got a chance to actually win with my dad on the PGA Tour next to me, but maybe there's still hope. I'm 45. I still got time, but thanks.
You're a young man. You're a young man.
plenty left in there, but well, that's great. Thanks, Jake. And I'm enjoying your podcast too. And it sounds like it's a family affair where your daughter Amy helps edit the whole thing. So Jake's takes podcasts are really a lot of fun to listen to.
Well, thank you for that. I'm really cheap. My daughter does it for me in my office back in Portland at Peter Jacobsen Sports, where we do a lot of hospitality and event coordination. And I just get on there. Sometimes I pontificate a bit. I have a couple of thoughts about some things to think about. I play some games. I'm going to get you on there. We're going to play a few games and have some fun. So expect a call from me soon.
You bet. Well, that's how it goes, right? You play in my pro-am, I play in yours, et cetera, et cetera. So if my agent doesn't call you back, though, Peter, just keep trying.
I will. I know you've got a huge posse. You got a nutritionist, you got a fitness guy, a mental guy, your Pilates guy, and your optometrist. So
yeah, guilty.
Have one of them call me.
All right. Well, Peter Jacobsen, thank you so much for your time. You all keep hearing Jake on Jake's Takes and on NBC Golf when we do get to play again soon. So Peter and Jan there in New York, thanks for what you're doing to help with this pandemic and letting your daughter and son-in-law really do the meat of this and be the real heroes in this. You yourself, stay safe.
All right, Mark. Hey, great to be with you. Thank you.